find a reference angle based on given angle on the unit circle. Let's draw a unit circle. And we have x-axis and y-axis. Let's say, for example, given the original angle is 45 degrees. So we label the original angle as theta equals 45 degrees. So then on the unit circle, we will have 45 degrees right here. So we know this angle is 45 degrees. The question is how to find reference angle. So reference angle will be labeled as theta prime and question mark. So first of all, we know 45 degrees is in first quadrant. So this quadrant number 1. And now we find the reference angle. So I will highlight the original angles and the x-axis. And from the original, I can drop down a line to make it as a right triangle. And always we drop it on the x-axis to make a right triangle. So the reference angle will be formed by the side of the original angle and the x-axis. So in this case, we have reference angle will be this angle right here. Okay. And yes, it's 45 degrees. The same as your original angle. Alright, we can move on next example. So let me give you an angle that lie in quadrant number 2. So let's redraw everything. Again, we draw unit circle, label with x and y. Let's say this time our original angle will be 120 degrees. And what is the reference angle? First, we will try to draw 120 degrees on the unit circle. So 120 degrees we know right here is 9 degrees. 120 degrees will be somewhere right here. So that means from the 0 degree all the way to this terminal side, that will be 120 degrees. And this angle lie in quadrant number 2 or second quadrant. So how do we find reference angle of this angle? Again, in order to do that, I will try to drop down the right triangle on x-axis. That's my right triangle. And I will try to highlight the terminal side of the given angle, which is original angle, and highlight the x-axis. So now I will see there are two angles that are formed by the terminal side of the given angle and the x-axis. So one more rule we need to know in order to know which one is reference angle. The rule is reference angle cannot be greater than 90. So therefore, between the two angles which are formed by the terminal side of the angle and the x-axis, we will choose the one that less than 90 degrees, which is this one right here. So this one will be our reference angle. So how do we find that reference angle? Keep in mind, we know half of the circle right here, the measure is 180 degrees. We know part of it right here is 120 degrees already. So in order to find the remaining, we will take, so instead question mark, now I have 180 degrees minus 120 equals 60 degrees. So our reference angle right here will be 60 degrees. Alright, now we move on another sample in quadrant number 3. Redraw the unit circle again. Label Y and x-axis. Now let me give you an angle like in quadrant number 3 or third quadrant. Let's say we have, let's say original angle would be 200 degrees. So 200 degrees will be right here. We know is half of circle is 180 degrees. 200 degrees will be somewhere just past 180 degrees. So it's somewhere right here. So now, question the same thing. We have to find reference angle. So if we look at this, we know from 0 degrees to the terminal side of the original angles will be 200 degrees. And I will follow the same tip that I already did for the last two examples. I will drop down the right triangle on the x-axis, this. And then now I will highlight the terminal side of the original angle and the x-axis. So now I know that I have two angles that are formed by the x-axis and the terminal side of the original angle. I have angle 1 and angle 2. So which one should I choose? If I use the rule that reference angle is always less than 90, then I don't choose angle number 2. I will eliminate angle number 2. And the only angle left is angle number 1. So now my job is to find the measure of angle number 1. How do I find measure of angle number 1? We know that the measure of the original angle is 200 degrees, which is all the way here. However, this angle actually includes half of the circle in it, and the measure of half of circle is 180 degrees. So half of circle right here is 180 degrees. So how do we find the remaining here? So go back here, we do our calculation. So we have 200 subtract 180 degrees, we have 20 degrees. So angle 1 equals to 20 degrees. That will be our reference angle. Okay. So now we can move on. Last quadrant on the unit circle. I'll redraw the unit circle. Label Y, X. Do the same thing. I give you original angle. Let's make up some weird number, maybe 200 287 degrees. So 287 degrees, we know that 200 right here will be 270 degrees. So 287 degrees somewhere right here. So that means from 0 degrees all the way to the terminal side will be 287 degrees. Now same job, we're looking for a reference angle. So I follow the same steps that I did earlier in previous examples. I drop down the side or the height to the x-axis. And then next, I will highlight x-axis and the terminal side of the original angle. Now I see there are two angles are formed by the x-axis and the terminal side of the original angle. So I label them as angle number 1 and angle number 2. Next, we will use the rule that we know about reference angle, that the reference angle is always positive and less than 90 degrees. Therefore, it allows us to eliminate angle number 1. So I erase 1 right here and I only keep 2 as our reference angle. Now, how do I find this reference angle? So what we know is the entire circle, the measure of the circle is 360 degrees. Whole circle 360 degrees. However, this 360 degrees include the original angle, which is 287 degrees. So we have part of it up to that point is 287 degrees. Now we need to know the remaining right here. Therefore, we do subtraction again. So we take 360 degrees minus 287 degrees, and we do the math here. It will be 73 degrees. That will be our reference angle. Alright, hopefully my examples help you understand how to find reference angle. And keep in mind there are several rules we need to know about reference angle. First, reference angle is always positive. Reference angle is always less than 90 degrees. Alright.